Would you believe the world's most iconic motorcycle started in a wooden shed, a tiny 10 by 15-foot box, barely big enough for two men to stand side by side, no machines, no fancy tools, just a dream, a borrowed idea, and a lot of stubborn determination. But here's the crazy part. Harley-Davidson wasn't even supposed to be Harley-Davidson. In the beginning, it was just a young guy named William Harley sketching out engine plans on scraps of paper. He had this wild thought. What if you could attach an engine to a bicycle? That's it. Not world domination, not a billion-dollar brand, just an engine and a bike. Now here's where the story gets even more insane. William wasn't alone. His childhood friend Arthur Davidson joined in, and the two of them decided they'd make it real. But remember, this was 1903. Cars were barely a thing, roads were still dirt, and these two nobodies thought they could create something that could ride faster, smoother, and tougher than anything else on wheels. So what did they do? They built it in a shed. Not a workshop, not a factory, a literal wooden shed in Milwaukee. The walls leaked, the tools were cheap, the floor was so cramped they had to move the engine outside just to test it. But from that shed came the very first Harley-Davidson motorcycle. And here's the hook most people don't know. The first bike they built actually failed. It was underpowered, clunky, and couldn't climb Milwaukee's hills. Imagine that. The very first Harley couldn't even handle the neighborhood roads. But instead of quitting, they went back to the shed. They rebuilt the engine. They tried again, and again, and again. The shed became more than a workshop. It became a factory of persistence. Every bolt, every weld, every mistake pushed them closer to the bike they dreamed of. And when they finally got it right, word spread like wildfire. People had never seen a machine like this before, a motorcycle that combined speed, power, and raw freedom. Here's something nobody tells you. The shed is gone today. But Harley-Davidson kept the original window from that shed. They moved it into their corporate office in Milwaukee as a reminder. Why? Because that tiny piece of wood and glass is proof that the world's biggest empires can start in the smallest spaces. Now think about this. What made Harley-Davidson different wasn't the shed. It wasn't even the bike. It was the culture. They didn't just sell motorcycles. They sold rebellion. They sold the dream of leaving your problems behind on the open road. That spirit, born in a leaky wooden shed, would go on to fuel a billion-dollar brand and inspire generations of riders around the world. And here's the dramatic twist. During World War I, Harley-Davidson bikes became the backbone of the U.S. Army. From a backyard shed to the battlefields of Europe, the machine that started as a broken prototype became a symbol of toughness and survival. So here's the real lesson. Harley and Davidson didn't need a perfect start. They didn't need fancy tools or polished ideas. They just needed to start. That tiny shed became proof that greatness doesn't require size, it requires persistence. So ask yourself this. If the world's most legendary motorcycle brand was built in a 10 by 15 shed, what excuse do we have for not starting our own engines today?